Assalamualaikum. My name is Azkar Razak and today in this video I'm gonna present about galactosemia. So here is the content which I'm gonna discuss in today's video. We will discuss about galactosemia, introduction to galactosemia, history, galactose and galactose metabolism, galactosemia types which are type 1, type 2 and type 3. We will also discuss about its frequencies, diagnosis and at the last the treatment. So let's discuss that what is galactosemia. Galactosemia is basically a rare metabolic disorder in which infant's body is unable to metabolize a simple sugar called as galactose, which is found in milk. It shows its early symptoms at very early age when baby starts feeding. It is basically an inability of body to use galactose to produce energy, that is glucose. Before discussing this disease in detail, let's have a look at its background. This disease was first discovered in 1908. This disease was discovered by von Reis in 1908 when a case was registered on breastfed infant with failure to thrive, enlargement of the liver and spleen, and galactosuria. As we have seen that galactose is the main factor in this disease, so let's have a look on that what is galactose. Galactose is basically a simple sugar metabolized from lactose which then enters in glycolysis for its conversion into glucose 1-phosphate, which is also known as Lillois pathway. Now let's move towards its sources, that what are the sources of galactose. The sources of galactose are number 1 milk and dairy products, intestinal mucosal cells, and number 3 lysosomal degradation of glycoproteins and glycolipids. Now the second point, which is intestinal mucosal cells, how galactose is produced. Basically there is conversion of lactose into galactose by an enzyme known as lactase. This is how we get galactose from intestinal mucosal cells. Galactose metabolism basically occurs in liver. Now let's see that how this metabolism happens in our liver. It starts from galactose, which is metabolized into galactose 1-phosphate with the help of an enzyme galactose kinase. In the next step, this galactose 1-phosphate in an exchange reaction with UDP glucose is converted into glucose 1-phosphate with the help of an enzyme galactose 1-phosphate uridyl transferase. After that, this glucose 1-phosphate is metabolized into glucose 6-phosphate with the help of an enzyme mutase. This glucose 6-phosphate then enters into glycolysis where it is converted into glucose and we get our final product. While the side products UDP glucose is converted into UDP galactose plus glucose with the help of galactose 1-phosphate uridyl transferase. At the end, this UDP glucose is converted into lactose with the help of lactose synthase enzyme. While our basic concern was with galactose, so we will basically focus on lactose conversion in which we obtain glucose at the end product of glycolysis. As we have now well idea about galactose and galactose metabolism, so let's discuss galactosemia disease in details. So we will start from types of galactosemia. There are 3 types of galactosemia. Type 1, which is also known as classic galactosemia. Type 2, galactokinase deficiency. Type 3, UDP galactose 4 epimerase deficiency. So let's see that what is type 1 classic galactosemia. Classic galactosemia is due to deficiency of enzyme galactose 1-phosphate uridyl transferase. Now why this enzyme is deficient, let's see the cause. Classic galactosemia, which is type 1, is a rare congenital disease in infants. It is an autosomal recessive disorder and the chances of baby to get this disease is only 25%, as both mother and father both are carriers. So the chances of baby to have this disease is only 25%. It is an autosomal recessive disorder. The enzyme galactose 1-phosphate uridyl transferase deficiency is due to mutation in gene called located on chromosome number 9, which is responsible for this disorder. Due to deficiency of enzyme galactose 1-phosphate uridide transferase, there is no metabolism of galactose, which causes accumulation of galactose in infant's body and rise their level in blood. When their level is high in blood, it is termed as galactosemia, while when there is high level of galactose in urine, it is termed as galactosuria. As there is no metabolism of galactose and due to its accumulation in body, there is an enzyme present in our body known as aldol reductase, which convert it into galactitol. This galactitol has implicated in the development of cataract. Now what happened? Due to accumulation of galactose in our body, it is converted into galactitol by an enzyme aldol reductase, which cause osmotic swelling and formed cataracts in the eye, which ultimately leads to blindness. Due to accumulation of galactose 1-phosphate and galactitol, it leads to impairment in various our body parts like liver, nervous tissue, lungs and kidney. As we have now well idea that what is type 1 galactosemia, now let's check out its clinical symptoms. Infants having type 1 classic galactosemia start losing their weight. They show hepatosplenomegaly. Now what's hepatosplenomegaly means? They show their liver and spleen shows enlargement. They have jaundice. They show mental retardation, cataracts and aminoaciduria. Now let's see that what is type 2 galactosemia, which is basically galactokinase deficiency. This disease is basically caused due to defect in the enzyme galactokinase, which is responsible for the phosphorylation of galactose, which means that there is no metabolism of galactose. Now, what factors are responsible for the deficiency of galactokinase enzyme is due to mutation which occurs in GOG1 gene, which causes this type 2 disease, galactosemia. As there is no metabolism of galactose, due to high accumulation of galactose in body, it is converted into galactitol by an enzyme aldol reductase. As there is high level of galactose and galactitol, it forms cataract and at a very early age. Somehow you can say that right after birth or within an year the baby starts showing the symptoms of type 2 galactosemia. The treatment for type 2 galactosemia is only that to remove galactose and lactose from the diet, which means that we should prohibit giving milk or dairy products to the baby. And here is type 3 galactosemia, which is called, that is uridine disphosphate galactose 4 epimerase deficiency. Let's now check out that what is type 3 galactosemia. Type 3 galactosemia is extremely rare. This disease is caused due to mutation in gene GOL, which is responsible for the deficiency of an enzyme uridine disphosphate galactose 4 epimerase, due to which type 3 is caused and led this disease. Now let's have a look on its symptoms. Its symptoms vary from very mild to severe, like the cataracts are formed and the baby show intellectual disability, that is mental retardation, and their liver and kidneys affected and the cataracts are formed in the eye. As we have now well idea about galactosemia and its types, so now let's check out its frequency, that at what percentage they affect the infants and occur in babies. Let's start from type 1, which is classic galactosemia, and check out its frequency. So let's say that if we have a ratio like 30,000 to 60,000 of newborn babies, there will be only 1% chance of the baby to get this disease, as it is a rare inherited autosomal recessive disorder. Whereas the galactosemia type 2 is less common than type 1, as there is only probably fewer than 1% chances of a newborn baby to get this disease, while the type 3 appears to be very rare. It's a very rare disease to be occur. After having a well idea about galactosemia disease, its types and its metabolism, so let's check out its diagnosis, that how we can know that whether the baby have this disease or not. In diagnosis, various tests are performed. Number one is parental testing. This parental testing is basically done during pregnancy to check out whether your baby have this disease or not. In this parental testing, the test which is performed is known as amniocentesis. In this test, we take amniotic fluid from mother's womb and perform tests on it to check out the galactose concentration in the blood, whether it is high or at its normal level. While newborn screening test is performed when a baby is born, in this test we take blood sample from a 2 to 3 days old baby's heel and we perform test. So what we basically do in this test, we check out the enzyme, that which enzyme is present or which is deficient, through which we determine that whether the baby have this disease or not, or if the baby have, then what type disease he have. Now let's check out that what could be the possible treatment of this disease, galactosemia. The first treatment is removal of lactose from diet, which means to avoid milk and dairy products. The next is we should avoid foods and drinks giving to infants such as milk, cheese, legumes, organ meats which contain galactose. And the next is lactose can be given in the diet after 4 years. Yes, we can give lactose to infants, but after 4 years. Why? There is an enzyme known as galactose 1-phosphate pyrophosphorylase, which becomes active in liver after 4 years. So we can give lactose to infants, but after 4 years. The next is early detection. Early detection is important. Why? Because as this disease leads to mental retardation and delay in growth and development. So if we have early detection about this disease, we can take preventive measures and treatment and can avoid baby from this disease. So what are the early detection? As we have already discussed, there is a parental testing and newborn screening test which can be performed to check out whether the baby have this disease or not. So this is all about my today's topic. Hope so you guys like it and understand it really well. Thank you.